Is to see Hot Meowth once again. Amnesiasc versus Fr0zen is going to be an incredible matchup. We do have the bans from these players. Both players have banned away Shaman. Yeah, no surprise there, Lothar.
No surprise there, but there's a small surprise in the warrior that Fr0zen is bringing, and I'm super excited to cast actually this game because it's the Water Warrior. It's the only player that brings this deck to this tournament, and what that means that the deck includes a Finja alongside 2 War Leaders, and Finley and 2 charges. And basically that's it. The plan is you play Finja on turn 4 if you have the coin, you kill a small 1 minion, or even trade with a minion that has 4 attack, and then Finja is still alive because there might be a War Leader coming out of the deck. It's pretty insane. It's pretty insane, so let's hope that we'll see it.
Well, we are seeing it right here. Game number 1 between Amnesiasc and Fr0zen is going to be Amnesiasc on his aggro rogue and Fr0zen on the Water Warrior. Pretty much.
Water Warrior.
There are some players who've just kind of thrown Finja into every deck and tried it out. It's obviously stuck in Paladin, but in Druid it's not bad. And now we're seeing it come up in Warrior. So what do you make of this matchup, Lothar?
Well, this matchup is something new, basically, because of the fact that, first of all, the aggro lineup that Amnesiasc is bringing is heavily, in my opinion, heavily favored in this entire tournament. But at the same time, Fr0zen with this Finja can just flip this matchup 180 around if he has a way of just trading up and just having an insane board presence because of that Finja. So I would say that the Rogue is slightly favored unless Fr0zen lands a really good trade.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, both of these guys are in the same location. They're both at the Fairfax Tavern Hero location. So, gotta be a great atmosphere to have these incredible players all in the same location, all playing together. So, pretty basic turn 1 for Amnesiasc, small-time Buccaneer. When you don't draw patches, it's a pretty good start for the Rogue.
Well, he had the patches in his opening hand, so he could have mulliganed it away. So there's only 1 chance of drawing it in the first turn, right? So that's pretty convenient. But now he still has a decent opener. 2 1-drops for turn 2, and there's a few questions that you want to ask yourself. Should I also maybe keep the second 1-drop, an example, if I'll get to draw a Edwin Van Cleef, but that most likely will not happen, so probably want to be as aggressive as possible and just play the small-time Buccaneer here alongside the other 2-drop that you played, the Swashbuckler.
So obviously these are both very aggressive decks. The Finja tends to slow down the Warrior a little bit, give it some more board presence going forward. How would you say that the Murlocs affect the Pirate Warrior's matchup against the Rogue? Because normally Pirate Warrior versus Miracle Rogue is incredibly Pirate Warrior favored, but obviously these are slightly different takes on these builds.
Yeah, well, in this situation, I would say that the Rogue, actually that's not that different from any other builds from the Rogue. When you think about it, you kind of rely on temp plays, so Eviscerate is able to kill down a Throttling Berserker or an example, Corcoran Elite, and that is one of the moves when you just gain so much mana in 1 turn, you're able to take control of the board and just swing the damage around, right? The one problem is the fact that a single weapon basically deals the damage that it has printed times the durability, because you don't play any taunt minions, you don't play any heals. So an Arcanid Reaper is like the nemesis
It's like
of the
a
Rogue.
Pyroblast for 5 damage.
Yeah, it is kind of problematic when you think about it. So unless Warrior doesn't have the Reaper, I would say that the Rogue has an easy life and can be matched equally against the Warrior. But if there's a Reaper and an upgrade, you probably will not win this game.
Yeah, it's very tough. So Amnesiasc already in a bit of a difficult spot. Obviously, this Throttling Berserker is a priority target, needs to be taken out very quickly. And he's actually going to decide to not waste his cold blood, but instead utilize the blood to Ichor he gets from the Swashbuckler, along with a weapon charge, and clear off the Frothing. How do you think this is going, how do you think Fr0zen's going to react to this?
Well, Fr0zen, it's turn 4 for him. The draw doesn't really change anything. So it's just simply 2 drops and trade up with the Blue Warrior. He still has patches, right? It's 10-4, it's kind of,
Turn 4, no patches for the Warrior. That's certainly a little unusual.
One thing that is worth mentioning in this matchup, especially with the Warrior build that has Blugger Warriors, is the fact that now you can use the Blugger Warriors as a tool to trade with the minion that has a Cold Blood on it. right? Because usually you will have to attack with your weapon over a heroic strike or use a multi strike to take that out and not do additional damage. But here you have, apart from patches, you still have a chance to just trade with the minion. And now we have Finja on board.
Yeah, and the Murloc War Leader in hand for Fr0zen means that next turn he can play down that War Leader, get the buff on the Finja, and trade cleanly into the, well, now the Azure Drake, because you want that spell damage off the board.
And you know what's crazy? After that, he will get a second Bluegill for him in his deck, which will be 4 attack and can trade with the other minion.
Well, hopefully he gets the Bluegill. He could potentially get
Finley
and the other War Leader.
Yes, you're correct.
So he's hoping for the War Leader and the Bluegill, and there they both are.
That is just insane when you think about the value of what just happened. Right.
Yep, I mean, there you go. What really can the aggro rogue do? They don't have Sap, they don't have Fan of Knives. There is no way for them to remove this huge Murloc warrior board, and Fr0zen is going to take game 1 easily.
As we said in the beginning, Finja can just flip the game completely, just like he takes the board and just literally flips it, right? When you think about it, for 5 mana, he put 5 additional 5 mana on board while killing a minion, and not killing himself. So you still have the board advantage from the previous turn, and you build another minion on board and a trade. So when you think about it, the value of it is just insane.
Yeah, and I mean, interestingly enough, the interaction between the Finja and the Murlocs that it pulls out, when a War Leader comes out, even if the Finja were to trade with a minion, it then receives the buff and can live through that combat damage. So it's really interesting interactions and just so much value, and honestly fits incredibly well into this warrior build.
There's of course a downside, because of the fact that you can draw all the Murlocs before you play Finja. Then the Finja is kind of useless, right? You don't have more Murlocs that will be pulled off from the deck. It's a very similar situation to what Patches does. If you draw Patches first, well, you're kind of sad. In this case, you need to draw like 5 Murlocs first to render the Finja useless, but it is possible. You can just draw all those Murlocs, and to be honest, like War Leader on its own is not really a great minion to be played. Like on turn 3, it's not necessarily something you want to do. But also this deck has another interaction, which is pretty cool. So if you have a Finley on turn 1, and you're on the draw, so you have the coin, you're able to build up a 3/4 minion on turn 2.
To build your own totem golem.
Yeah, build your own totem golem without an overload.
Yeah, and with another 3/3 on board. So that's what you get for taking out the South Sea Captain. Amnesiasc gonna roll with that aggro rogue once more, and Fr0zen into his Reno Mage. Take us through this matchup.
This matchup, now let's see which version is Fr0zen running. Is it more anti-aggro based, or is it more anti-control? And
well,
he has the Inkmaster. Yeah, he has the Inkmaster Solia, but at the same time he has Forbidden Flame, Arcane Blast, Acidic Swampus, so those cards are definitely helpful in the aggro matchup. So I would say that Fr0zen can take this, but at the same time the opener from Amnesiasc is pretty nuts. He has a 1-drop into a Huckster, into a charged minion on turn 3 in the form of the Horse Rider, and that can deal a lot of damage. For Fr0zen, fortunately, he has Doomsayer on turn 2. But when you think about it, Doomsayer, even on turn 2 nowadays in the metagame, is not really safe.
No, especially not with 2 Cold Bloods in the deck for Amnesiasc. This, however, is a really nice anti-aggro start for Fr0zen. Both players with really nice hands. So it's going to come down to whether or not Fr0zen can stave off the damage from Amnesiasc long enough to get Reno Jackson. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yep, that's usually what it comes down to in almost every single match from Reno Jackson decks, right?
Yeah, get Reno or don't get Reno. And sometimes you have enough healing with Ice Block and Alexstrasza to sort of, clutch out the game without Reno, but seeing as how aggressive this rogue deck is, Reno will certainly make this a little bit better for Fr0zen.
Don't worry, loves, the cavalry's here.
So
we've got 4 matches actually going on across the Americas right now. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be staying in Amnesiasc versus Fr0zen for the entire match. We just wanted to let you guys see Hot and Out versus PNC, Killin' All Day versus Tare, and Muzzy versus Yo It's Flow also going on at the same time. Muzzy versus Yo It's Flow, you've got friends and practice partners fighting each other, and Amnesiasc versus Fr0zen, obviously 2 incredibly respected players.
And we're back to Amnesiasc and Fr0zen. Sovsi Deckhand is being played alongside patches on turn 4th again. In the previous
turn
game,
4 patches.
Turn 4 patches. Not bad, since he didn't get to draw him, but still manages to have pressure on the board. And something that we didn't see for a very long time in the metagame is the Divine Shield minions. And they pose a big problem again for the Reno Mage because of the fact that they are not running any kind of ship AoE. They don't have Arcane missiles. They don't have Flamewaker. Those are the trademarks of a Tempo Mage. And this is a great deck against the aggro rogue. But in this case, well, a single Cold Blood might be very problematic for Fr0zen in this situation. So he needs to take care of that as soon as possible. This is the reason why he played the Mystic on the previous turn.
Yes.
Because he just wanted to trade with any of the Divine Shields and then use his Hero Power or the Volcanic Potion.
Yeah, it just soaks up 4 damage, which is really honestly what Fr0zen needs right now. If he can make it to the long game, he knows he's going to win on the back of Kazakus, Reno Jackson. He's not going to need Manic Soulcaster for extra value into the late game because Amnesiasc simply can't win if it gets to that point. So Fr0zen going to have a bit of trouble clearing off these Divine Shield minions. Like you said, he does have the Hero Power, but the Volcanic Potion is not an easy clear here like it would be if he was just playing against a rogue's normal early game of Pirates. And then we also see the Forgotten Torch in Amnesiasc's hand, most likely from the Swashbuckler. That's going to give him some extra reach, and it looks like there may have been a disconnect on Fr0zen's side. We're going to go ahead and keep you guys updated as soon as we know anything, but from my perspective, it looks like you would want to use your 4 mana.
You probably would use like the Hero Power and maybe drop the Thalnos, because why do you need Thalnos in this matchup anyway? So it seems like Fr0zen might have some technical difficulties, which is kind of unfortunate because, to be honest, like although Amnesiac has a board here and still 4 cards in the hand, I feel like Fr0zen has a chance here.
Yeah, his hand is very promising. He has the early game removal. If he can get some decent draws going forward, he definitely would have the ability to drag out this game. But now after having not utilized 4 mana and missed an entire turn, yeah, looks like Fr0zen did experience a disconnect there. As soon as we know exactly what the ruling will be on that, we will for sure let you know. But seeing as there was no lethal on board for either player, I imagine it will be a regame.
Probably the game, as I said, looks kind of even from both sides. Although Amnesiac had the board and some reach in his hand, but it wasn't like even close to lethal yet, and decks like Reno Mage has access to Ice Block, and after an Ice Block they can use a Reno Jackson, so they can come back just by drawing 1 card. And so there's no way of making an easy ruling when it comes to this matchup at least.
Yeah, still could have absolutely been either guy's game. And as I said, we'll let you know as soon as we know, but until then, let's just walk it through both guys' lineups just a little bit further. So Amnesiac has a full aggro lineup. He's got the Pirate Warrior, the Tempo Mage, and the Aggro Rogue. And then contrasting, Fr0zen is a little bit more control. He has the Water Warrior, the Reno Mage, and the Reno Warlock.
So those are like the 2 most common lineups that we have this weekend. And my personal opinion is that Amnesiac lineup, so the full aggro lineup, is super powerful. It's insanely powerful in current metagame, and it's different. I think like the last weekend EU finals were kind of an indicator of how the metagame should evolve, and NA players I think read that pretty well because the aggro lineup not only like spiked in popularity, most of the aggro decks just gained like 20% of presence in the metagame. An example, the Aggro Rogue, if I remember correctly, it was like 10% in EU, but it's 29 in NA. The same goes for the Aggro Shaman. It's even more common right now.
And the Tempo Mage.
Yeah, the Tempo Mage is another deck that is really aggressive, and I feel like some players were targeting last weekend the Reno Mages, and it's really well done if you switch to Tempo Mage because you're kind of immune to all those decks that are targeting the Reno decks, right? You don't play any secrets, and some players, like example Dog, has a Secret Eater in his deck, so just to play around Reno Mages, right? So a Tempo Mage right now, Tempo Mage is it's a really good pick.
Yeah, it's absolutely a great pick. So we are going to see Hot Meowth coming up a little bit later, and here we can see him getting ready to play against PNC, who actually was also in HCT last year. So that's going to be a great match. I'm sure there was a disconnect versus Amnesiasc versus Fr0zen, exactly what we thought it would be. There is going to be a regame with the same classes, so it is going to, again, be the Rogue versus the Reno Mage. Of course, Fr0zen still up 1-0.
Well, we'll see how it goes right now, because Amnesiasc had an insane opening hand. Well, okay, insane is it?
It's relative.
It might be a stretch, but he had a minion for turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, right? So it was a pretty good demo opener. What could have been better was maybe an Edwin.
Yeah.
Because mages have problem with big minions, and that means if you drop a minion like Flamer, Faceless, an Edwin, a Ragnaros, if they don't have, let's say, Polymorph, or they don't have a Fireball and a Frostbolt, they usually are not able to kill that minion. And that minion tries to solo carry the entire game. But in this situation, we'll just have to see how it goes again. Maybe this time there will be Arena Jax in the hand.
Maybe there will be. Maybe Fr0zen's hand will be even better. And, you know, the Reno Mage is usually better against the Rogue than the Reno Warlock just because they have more efficient single target removal. And a lot of their spells can be used as, you know, damage as well as removal. So it's likely that the Reno Mage does have a better chance than the Reno Warlock would, which Fr0zen also has in his lineup. But both hands were pretty fair in that matchup. In that game, it seemed like they both had a game plan, and they were both certainly within reach of being able to execute it. So we'll have to see how the mulligans go this time. Obviously, disconnects are never something that you want to see happen, but in a lot of cases, it is hard to avoid. And both these guys are playing from the same location, so it could have happened to either of them. So right now they're just logging right back in. We're going to be getting back into game number 2 as soon as we possibly can. Again, Reno Mage versus the Aggro Rogue. So as we've been seeing, there's so much more tempo mage